Whether it's after a setback, a loss, or simply realizing that you've outgrown who you were, rebuilding yourself becomes essential. Now, what does it take to do that? To transform? To become something more than you were before? To rise above your past and shape a new future? First, let me say this. Rebuilding yourself starts with a decision. A decision that says, I will not remain where I am. And isn't that a powerful moment? That realization that where you are today does not have to be where you stay. Some people make the mistake of thinking they're stuck, that life has dealt them a bad hand, and now they must live with it. But that's not true. Life can be redesigned. Our habits can be reshaped. Our character can be rebuilt. And what does it take? A simple decision. The power of a decision should not be underestimated. You see, every significant change in life begins with that. Deciding you want something different, something better. But here's the catch. Deciding is not enough. It's just the start. After the decision, what follows is the process. And I'm telling you, process is where most people falter. You see, it's not the excitement of making the decision that builds character. It's the discipline in following through. It's the daily work, the effort, the persistence. And that's what we're really talking about when we say, rebuild yourself. We're talking about a journey, one where you'll be tested, where you'll doubt yourself, where you'll be tempted to quit. But if you keep going, something incredible happens. You begin to shape a new version of yourself. Slowly, steadily, brick by brick, you rebuild. Now, one of the first steps in this rebuilding process is to take inventory. You can't build on a shaky foundation. And so, the first step is to evaluate where you are. What's working? What's not? What habits? What thoughts? What beliefs have been holding you back? You've got to take a close look at your life and ask, what must change? Because rebuilding is not about patching up holes in the wall. It's about tearing down what's broken and replacing it with something stronger. And I'm telling you, this isn't easy. Facing the truth about yourself, about your life, it takes courage. But you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. You can't build strength on a foundation of denial. So the first key is awareness. Be aware of what needs to go. It might be a mindset that's kept you small, a fear that's held you back, or a habit that's drained your energy. You've got to look it in the eye and say, this is what I must let go of. But once you've done that, once you've identified what's no longer serving you, the next step is replacement. It's not enough to remove bad habits. You've got to replace them with better ones. You've got to build something in place of what's been torn down. And this is where the daily disciplines come into play. Small actions repeated over time, these are the building blocks of transformation. Now, we've all heard the phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. And it's true. But I'll tell you something, Rome was built daily. It was built brick by brick, stone by stone. And that's how you rebuild yourself. One habit at a time, one action at a time. You don't have to overhaul your entire life in one giant leap. That's a sure way to get overwhelmed and give up. Instead, focus on one area at a time. Maybe it's your health. Maybe you need to start by rebuilding your energy, your vitality. How do you do that? You start small. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk every morning. Then it becomes 20 minutes. Maybe you replace one unhealthy meal with something nourishing. It's not the big sweeping changes that transform you. It's the little consistent actions. Over time, these small efforts compound. And before you know it, you've built something strong, something lasting. Or perhaps it's your mindset that needs rebuilding. You see, we are all shaped by the stories we tell ourselves. Some of us have been telling the same story for years. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. That's just the way things are. But here's the good news. You can rewrite your story. You can choose a new narrative. And that's one of the most powerful steps in rebuilding yourself, changing the way you think. I remember hearing a story about a man who spent years believing he could never be more than average. He had grown up hearing that success was for other people, not for him. And so he lived his life that way, just getting by, never reaching for more. One day, someone challenged him. They said, "Who told you that story? Who said you had to be average?" That question woke him up. He realized that the limits he had placed on himself were just that, self-imposed. And from that moment on, he decided to rewrite his story. He started telling himself a different narrative, one of success, one of possibility. And guess what? His life changed. Not overnight, but steadily. As his beliefs changed, so did his actions. And eventually, his life followed suit. So ask yourself, what story have you been telling yourself? And more importantly, what story do you want to live? You see, we all have the power to change our narrative, but it requires intentional effort. It requires us to challenge those old beliefs, to replace them with new, empowering ones. But here's something critical. Rebuilding yourself is not a solo journey. You need support. You need people around you who will hold you accountable, who will encourage you when the going gets tough. That's why I always say, surround yourself with the right people. If you're trying to build a new version of yourself, but you're surrounded by people who don't believe in growth, who are content to stay stuck, guess what? It's going to be that much harder for you to rise above. You've got to find those who are on the same journey, who understand the importance of growth and are committed to it. And remember, no one builds a house alone. You need a team, whether it's mentors, friends, or a community that shares your values. They'll help you stay the course when you feel like giving up. They'll remind you of your potential when you doubt yourself. And most importantly, they'll celebrate with you when you reach those milestones. Patience. We live in a world of instant gratification. We want results now. But rebuilding doesn't work that way. Growth takes time. Think about it. When a seed is planted, it doesn't sprout into a tree overnight. It takes time to grow roots, to push through the soil, to reach for the sunlight. And so do we. So be patient with yourself. Understand that progress may be slow, but it's progress nonetheless. And let me add this. Don't compare your journey to someone else's. This is your process. Someone else may seem to be further along, but that's not your concern. Your only focus should be on your own growth, your own rebuilding. Every person's journey is different, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep going. There's a story I love about bamboo. You know, bamboo takes years to grow. For the first few years, nothing seems to happen. It stays beneath the ground, no visible growth. But then, after several years, it shoots up almost overnight. That's because during those years of seeming inactivity, it's developing a deep root system, preparing for the rapid growth to come. And that's how it is with us. Sometimes we're working hard, making changes, but we don't see the results right away. Don't be discouraged. Stay committed to the process, because when the time is right, that growth will come. The key is to stay the course, even when it seems like nothing is happening. So as you start rebuilding yourself, remember these principles. Make the decision, take inventory, build new habits, rewrite your story, surround yourself with the right people, and most importantly, be patient. There will be challenges, no doubt about it. There will be days when you want to quit. But if you keep going, if you trust the process, you'll emerge on the other side stronger, wiser, and better than before. Remember, rebuilding yourself is not just about reaching a destination. It's about becoming the kind of person who is capable of achieving what you desire.